Hi viewers, hope you're all doing well. Today let us learn about the maintenance of pure cultures. Now we know that pure cultures are required and very essential for any activity that we do in the lab, whether it is for research or the production of some metabolite. We need a culture to be pure to go ahead with the work. So once we have obtained the pure cultures, and for this I have already done a video earlier, we have spoken about the different methods by which we can obtain a pure culture from any natural sample. Once we have isolated and obtained this pure culture, now we need to maintain it for further use so that the organisms remain viable, that is, they remain alive, and the purity of the microorganism is also kept like that, and the culture does not get contaminated, or we keep it free of contamination. So this can be done by several methods. Some of these methods can be used in a small time laboratory as well, whereas some others need to be, or we need bigger instruments that for that, or sophisticated techniques are to be employed for that, so that the organisms or the cultures can be maintained for a longer time. These are the different cultures that we'll be looking into today. The simplest one being subculturing. Now, subculturing is wherein the organisms are transferred periodically into a fresh medium so that the viability is maintained. The organism is now, when we transfer it from an older medium, that is a used or a spent medium, into a fresh medium, it makes sure that the organism is allowed to grow continuously and it remains alive. So that is called as subculturing, the periodic transfer of organism into a fresh medium. Once we do the subculturing, we have to make sure that the conditions while subculturing are totally aseptic, and the place where we are storing the organism is also aseptic to avoid contamination. The only problem with this is that repeated subculturing is not only time consuming, but it is also possible that there are certain genetic mutations that can occur with increasing passages or with increasing subculturing. So this is a technique that can be only having, or that has only a limited use. There are other more sophisticated techniques which will avoid this problem. But the reason subculturing is so commonly used is because it is a very simple technique and does not require much expertise. It can be done in any lab which has a minimal lab setup. So subculturing is usually clubbed with refrigeration. Now in refrigeration, we store the cultures which have been subcultured. We store such cultures at 0 to 4 degrees Celsius in the refrigerator, or it could be in a cold room where we have not exposed the organism to freezing temperatures, but we are keeping it at a very, very low temperature. This low temperature will slow down the metabolic activity of the organisms and make sure that the organisms are growing at a very slow rate, but they stay alive. Now, this aids us to keep the organisms for several weeks or even a few months. The problem here is that the organism does not die and it is growing very, very slowly. So that means the nutrients will eventually get utilized, and there will be waste products that are also building up in the medium, which means to say that after a few months, if we do not subculture the refrigerated samples, the organisms will die. So subculturing and refrigeration are usually used together. So the organism is subcultured after every few months and then refrigerated so that it can be stored for a long time. As you can see over here, this is the subculturing sheet of one of the industries, wherein for even the daily use, they are subculturing repeated times. So from the mother culture, they are then transferring it into 3 master cultures. That is the first passage. From the master culture, it is being transferred into the monthly culture. Every monthly culture is transferred into a weekly culture, and that weekly culture is subcultured on a daily basis, so that only this tube is used and the other cultures are kept free of contamination. So this is the first and the most easiest method which is used in all the labs, that is subculturing and refrigeration. The second technique is the overlay technique. In overlay technique, the organism after it has grown is covered with, or it is overlaid with, either oil or paraffin wax. Now this is also a very economical method of maintaining the pure cultures for a longer time. So sterile liquid paraffin is poured over the slant culture, and this is stored upright at room temperature. The paraffin layer that is being poured on top will ensure that the organisms are maintained under anaerobic conditions. There is no dehydration of the medium. So this helps to make sure that the organism or the cultures remain in a dormant state, and hence such cultures can be preserved for several years. As you can see over here in the diagram, this is a picture of certain yeast cultures that have been stored for several years in Germany. So what do you overlay with? You can either overlay it with paraffin, or we can overlay it with any kind of mineral oil, or we can even use a mixture of Vaseline and paraffin, which we call as Vaspar. That also can be used as an overlay. So once the organism has grown, we cover it with the oil or the paraffin, which makes sure that anaerobic conditions are maintained. Next method that we have is also a very important method called as cryopreservation. Now, cryopreservation is basically freezing the cultures, but not at 0 degrees Celsius, freezing them in liquid nitrogen, which means the temperature is minus 196 degrees Celsius. This cryopreservation helps the microorganisms to survive for a much longer time. So in this method, the microorganisms are frozen steadily till minus 35 and then rapidly cooled at minus 196 degrees Celsius in liquid nitrogen. Now, if we freeze cultures without using a stabilizing agent, even at 0 degrees Celsius, if we freeze cultures, the organisms will die. The reason being, there will be ice crystals that are formed, which will prevent the formation of our cell, and the cell structure is also getting harmed. So when we use liquid nitrogen or when we go for cryopreservation, we have to make sure that we use a stabilizing agent or a cryoprotectant. The stabilizing agents that are commonly used are glycerol. So we can emulsify the culture by shaking and mixing it with glycerol, so that now that culture can be stored even at low temperature. Glycerol makes sure that even at low temperature, our cell structure, cell size remains the same and it remains viable. So glycerol is one agent that can be used like this, or we have dimethyl sulfoxide, that is abbreviated as DMSO, that can be also used as a cryoprotectant. So these are some of the stabilizing agents that need to be used when we go for cryopreservation. Cryopreservation is done at very, very low temperatures, and to protect the cells at that low temperature, we need these cryoprotectants. The last method that we have is lyophilization. Lyophilization is also called as freeze drying. So in this method, the culture is rapidly frozen at a low temperature of minus 70 degrees Celsius, and it is also dehydrated using vacuum. What we do here is that it is a two-pronged attack. We dry the cultures, so make sure that there is no water for their growth. At the same time, we freeze them, so it makes sure that the cells are at a very low temperature and they survive. The cells, they get dehydrated, their metabolic activities are stopped, and so they go into a dormant state, which helps us to retain their viability for several years. And these lyophilized cultures, once the lyophilization is done, the lyophilized cultures or the freeze-dried cultures can be then stored in a regular refrigerator at 4 degrees Celsius, because anyway, all the water has been removed and the organism will not grow. So in the process of drying, the elimination of water, if we do it in a regular way, the elimination of water can damage the chemical compounds in the cell. But it's freeze drying, so the water is removed from the culture by sublimation. So that makes sure ice crystals are not formed. And that is the reason this method is the most commonly used method by culture collection centers. So as you can see here, this is an ampule that is used for the lyophilization. The ampules are made of glass, and maximum capacity that they have will be around 0.2 ml. So they are cleaned with the help of 2% HCl, with the help of water. After that, they are dried, plugged and autoclaved before use. Then we transfer the culture suspension into these glass ampules, and the ampules are connected to a high vacuum system. So this high vacuum system will make sure that they are completely dried up. We usually use a desiccant over there, like phosphorus pentoxide or silica gel. So the culture is dried out and it is immersed in a freezing mixture of dry ice and alcohol. So once the drying is complete, the cotton plug at the top is cut off, and the rest of the glass is then sealed by using heat. So what we are doing here is we are pushing the cotton plug into the tube, and the glass is then constricted and sealed. This makes sure that we can keep several such glass vials in the refrigerator at 4 degrees Celsius. So these are some of the methods of maintaining a pure culture. Each method has its own advantages and disadvantages, but on a regular lab scale, what is most economical is either subculturing along with that refrigeration, or overlaying with paraffin wax or with oil. These are some of the economical ones. But we do have other methods which are helping us to make sure that the cultures are stored for several years in a dormant state and they remain viable till then. I hope you all have understood this lecture, students. See you all in the next class. Thank you.